Hello and happy new year. Welcome back to another episode of Two-Face Tuesdays. I'm your host, Lucas Barron. Hope everyone had a wonderful holiday season. We are certainly back into the full swing of things here at work at Accelsius. And really, our year got kick-started because of the CES Consumer Electronics Show trade show, where NVIDIA's CEO Jensen Huang announced the next generation of their GPU platform, Vera Rubin, and highlighted the ability of that platform to be cooled by warm water, which we were certainly very excited to hear. We have put out a number of assets on, our position on cooling with warm water, and really just highlighting that this aligns well with the technology and value proposition and performance of two-phase direct-to-chip liquid cooling. So really excited to see the industry moving to warmer water cooling in the future. We have also already had a number of folks go to the PTC trade show. Certainly a very good trade show to attend in January. And then lastly, and something that's going to be a prominent theme of today's episode and that I'm very excited to talk about is the Series B funding that we closed. So Accelsius raised $65 million in this Series B, led by Johnson Controls and Legrand. That's going to be the main focus of today's show, and our guest today will be talking a lot about that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get this episode started. So for today's guest, we have Diaz with us. So Diego, thanks for joining the show.
Thank you for having me. Really excited.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do have to highlight that you are the first non-engineer on the show, which you should carry as a badge of honor because the topic today is going to be Series B, and you are absolutely the right person to talk about that. But before we get into that, I do kind of want to start the show with your background a little bit. First, starting with your education. So can you tell me about your education in finance a little bit, and kind of what drew you to finance?
Of course. I'm glad that we're talking about this topic because if you put me on a technical topic, I think I'd really drop the ball. But on my background, really, I think generally what I was really infatuated by was just kind of the start from conception and idea to company, kind of that process.
Sure.
And I don't have a technical background. Technicals weren't my forte. Science wasn't my forte. So I think business was a great vehicle to do so. Okay. I also found that it was very interesting to see why companies scaled and why they didn't, and what the differences between them were. So I think business and finance generally just gave me the opportunity to be able to kind of be along for the ride and learn.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, a lot of the folks that have come to Accelsius, you took a very interesting path to get here. Certainly, you actually came over from Inventure. So I'd love to kind of hear kind of about that process, how you started working with Accelsius, and ultimately what led you to actually joining the Accelsius team.
Yeah, it was an awesome process.
Yeah.
So I spent just about 3 years, maybe just about 3 to 4 years at Inventure.
Okay.
Across various functions. First at the accounting and finance team with that function.
Yeah.
I think it was a great opportunity for me to learn on the ops side, kind of what it takes from a financial metric standpoint, what to scale and grow a business. Right. Given they own a couple other businesses in different industries. I then transitioned to their down select team. And the way to think of the down select team is really just a way to technically evaluate these opportunities or these technologies they receive from multinationals. And then another team within the down select team is in charge of prototyping that business. Okay. Which is part of kind of where I was at with that team. And it was very enjoyable work. I'm, again, not the technical one in the room, but I certainly enjoyed building and prototyping a business alongside the technical folks that could advise me on what's right and what's wrong.
Okay.
And then I spent just about 2.5 to 3 years, the latter half of my career at Inventure, with the capital markets team. So in charge of raising money for Inventure and its companies that it launches. I think we certainly raised over $100 million across a bunch of different vehicles. Okay. And that's actually what led me to Accelsius. Yeah. So Accelsius and Josh and the leadership team were prepping for the Series B round.
Okay.
Huge round for any company that goes through that endeavor.
Right.
And they really needed a full-time resource to support him, Robert, and others that were going to engage in the round. I've done this before, so I was kind of assigned or on assignment to Accelsius for 2-3 months until we closed the round.
Okay.
And I kind of fell in love with the people and the business.
Yeah.
And fast forward, and here I am.
Awesome. Well, we love having you. You know, in the short few months that you've been here, you've already made a huge impact. So I'm glad you're on our team. And you know, you're on our team as chief of staff here, where you kind of have a unique position overseeing a lot of things in strategy, in operations. And so, you know, what does a typical day actually look like as a chief of staff here at Accelsius?
Great question. It all starts off with a 2 a.m. wake-up call, 50 push-ups, and I'll start with the day. I mean, the day is pretty much, I think as a chief of staff, my role is really to serve the team, and really I'm in charge of just kind of syncing up with the leadership team. And ensuring that we're aligned on what's critical for the business to move forward. And then really ensuring that the team has everything they need to be able to execute on that strategy. So that's really my focus. And I don't know what the rest of your question was. What was the other part of that?
That's it right there. Just what's the typical day look like? So that answers it for me. Happy with that answer.
Nice.
The way, you know, I had to ask Josh, you know, what's a chief of staff do when we brought you on as that, and you know, he said, you know, he works on whatever keeps me up at night. So while you're joking about the 2 a.m. calls, I'm sure, you know, there might be 1 or 2 in there. Whether they've already happened or not, they're coming. We got an exciting year ahead, but it's going to be some hard work at the same time, though.
Yeah.
So, but kind of in regards to that, and shifting gears a little bit, you know, the point of the conversation today is to talk about Series B and kind of your involvement in that process. But just kind of starting at a high level for our audience that, you know, isn't deep into the startup lingo, can you kind of break down what fundraising looks like, what a Series B actually is?
Yeah, of course. So Series B is just one of many fundraising rounds.
Right.
And I think the way they're structured is depending on where the company is in its life cycle. So you have what they call a seed round, which is the initial raise.
Yeah.
And think of the seed round, I'm going to use a restaurant kind of analogy here. It's given this very fitting, we're in Austin.
Yeah.
The seed round is pretty much like a food truck, right?
Okay.
So you've launched a food truck, and you're really trying to see what people will think of your food.
Makes sense.
So you have an idea, you have a concept, and you're taking it out to market that way. You'll raise some money to get the food trucks established and all that stuff.
Okay.
What follows usually the seed round is an A round, a Series A. And that's typically, think of you're opening your first flagship restaurant.
Okay.
And you've tested the market with your food. Now people kind of like your food, so you're starting to get early customers. They're starting to get some traction. There's a buzz around, hey, Lucas's restaurant is really, really good. You should check it out. And then comes into our Series B round, which is what we just raised.
Yep.
The way to think of that is you're opening additional restaurants.
Okay.
So the first one's done very well. You're killing your dinner services. People love the food.
Yeah.
Let's start scaling now. And it's a very critical round because what comes next is really just you're having to maintain and keep the quality up. And using that analogy. So the same applies for us. I think we're in a stage where the business is going to scale and is ready to scale. And we needed the capital to fuel kind of that rocket ship.
Yeah, absolutely. And that segues us beautifully into the next question I have, because I wanted to ask kind of what were the key drivers behind the Series B for Accelsius, and you know how it all ties into the AI boom and the adoption of liquid cooling, but just highlighting maybe a little bit more in terms of Series B for Accelsius, what that specifically means.
Yeah, I mean, I think the real key drivers for this round, there were plenty, but the two main ones are really, one, rack densities continue to increase.
Yep.
And that's a trend that will continue to move forward.
Right.
I think we want to be prepared for that.
Right.
And we think Two-Phase is well positioned to do so.
Absolutely.
And on the second piece, I mean, the market speed has been unreal. I mean, I think it's every day now we hear about new deployments, new data centers coming up. So we think we need to kind of step on the gas as far as getting our products out and getting to scale.
Yep.
So that was kind of another focus for us as we look to start kind of going down the path of a Series B round.
Yeah, no, and that makes a ton of sense. I've highlighted before on the show that, for Accelsius, 2025 was a really strong year of proof of concepts where we were getting our products into customers' hands. They were testing things, understanding the thermal benefits and performance of those systems. And now as we move into 2026, which we've certainly already highlighted towards the end of 2025, that, there's been some strong momentum. We're starting to see scale deployments with the Dark NX deal being a really good example of a 300 megawatt deployment that we're going to start working on this year. So it makes sense that it's we're close to getting to some of these early at scale two-phase deployments, and that money certainly will help us, as you said, step on the gas pedal to kind of get us up over that hill and get going. Lots of exciting times ahead. So we've talked about what we're going to do with the money a little bit, and so let's talk about the players that invested with us. So can you talk about the two companies that we raised money from, and kind of a little bit of background on who they are and why they were the right people to include in our Series B?
Definitely. We really couldn't be more excited about who partnered with us in this round. We'll start off with, obviously, JCI was the lead investor in this offering.
Yeah, Johnson Controls.
And they come from an interesting perspective. Their expertise is in the chiller and HVAC space. So when we think of providing our customers with comprehensive solutions, they cover a piece of the puzzle that we otherwise wouldn't. Right. Since we play in the white space and we cool the servers that go into those racks. And then Legrand was that follow-on investor. Right. So they came in, and their perspective or expertise is in the power and rack side. So that's, once again, another piece of the puzzle. And I think what you'll see with that partnership is customers would expect a kind of comprehensive solution coming from power to rack side and then out through the chiller and infrastructure side, and with us in the middle. Yeah. So we couldn't be more excited about who kind of is along with us for the ride. Yeah, absolutely. Very, very complementary pieces in the data center ecosystem to, as you said, kind of really pull in best in breed technologies from, power in the white space, cooling in the white space, heat rejection on the facility side of the house as well. And then, of course, a ton of refrigerant experience that comes with JCI on the HVAC side. So definitely excited to continue to collaborate with them as we move through 2026 here. And then, kind of from a personal perspective, I know how many meetings you and the rest of the leadership team were in, talking to various folks as this round was happening. So I'm kind of curious from a insider's perspective that you had, what's kind of one behind the scenes story or challenge from the fundraising process that you can share? There are certainly challenges that come with raising money. From my experience, this was a pretty I don't want to say easy, because none of them are easy. Right. But this one was more straightforward than others, and I think this is just due to where the business is and how we're positioned in the market. Right. I think folks understood that fairly quickly. Yeah. I would say one of the challenges that I think is consistent throughout is really kind of managing your audience. So, I mean, we know the story of Accelsius fairly well. Right. We'll build a pitch towards that. And you'll have very different audience that you'll meet with. And some of these are strategic players like JCI and Legrand. Others will be institutional investors. Others will be VC funds. Okay. And I think your pitch needs to be tailored accordingly. Absolutely. Because certain things are more important for certain stakeholders, and you want to make sure you really hit on these things. Right. So I think it could turn into kind of a lot of work and a lot of kind of homework as you meet with these prospects and you go through the process. Yeah. So that was one of the things that is challenging, but you could definitely work through, and we have fairly well. Perfectly. Awesome. And so I do want to kind of shift gears a little bit here at this point, start to talk a little bit more about the future and what we're going to be working on in 2026, how this Series B is going to impact, the next year and or years for Accelsius. And so what can you tell me there in terms of how, this accelerates, our innovation with two-phase direct-to-chip liquid cooling? Yeah, I mean, this round is extremely important for us. I think it enables us first to expand our manufacturing capability and really focus on that. That's been a critical focus for the team is, hey, we've designed products. How can we take them to market efficiently and ensure they're done with quality? So that's the first piece, kind of enabling that manufacturing expansion, if you will.
Yeah.
And the second piece is how can we serve our customers better? So how can we create a new line of products or a new set of products that could meet their needs and exceed them, and stay ahead of the curve as we continue to innovate.
Right. Yeah. No, if I can add one thing from my perspective, and I don't know if the folks here at Accelsius will listen to me, but I'd love some more engineers, just because with the amount of work we're doing these days, getting pulled in different directions for different initiatives at time. I always feel a little guilty when I walk into the room and raise my hand and say, well, marketing needs this or marketing needs that, and
that's when half the office runs away. And
they run towards us to work with us. They love it. No, we have a lot of fun, and I think that's one of the beautiful things of the team here is, despite the fact that everyone is busy and working really hard, they always find time to collaborate and chip in other areas. And so it's the people definitely are fantastic and just help us do so much with what we have. So I guess the last thing I really want to highlight on then is just any tips for entrepreneurs that are eyeing funding rounds, whether it's in technology or data centers specifically. What would you tell them?
Yeah, I would say, just to keep it brief, there's one thing that I would really focus on, and it's really this mantra or thought of just selling an outcome rather than the science.
Yeah.
I think whether it's your product drives efficiency, or it's more sustainable, or there's a certain cost savings that's inherent with your product. I think focusing on the dollars and cents to customers and those suppliers and manufacturers. Yeah. I think that's really going to drive value, and investors are obviously chasing value in many ways. So I think that's one thing I would focus on. The second piece is really this obsession over product.
Yeah.
Right? And serving your customer.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the companies that have successful rounds, financings, whether it's a seed round, you're just starting off with a good idea, or a later stage financing like Series C or Series D, et cetera. I think as you scale a business, there's this obsession over product and customers. And I think the greatest companies do that the best. So I would focus on that as you look to fundraise.
I love that. I love that feedback. I love those tips. So that makes a lot of sense to me. And glad you're officially a part of the team, officially help us do all the right things with that money and have an exciting year ahead of us. So with that, thank you so much for being on the show today. I know I've gotten a ton of questions on Series B from folks in the audience. I love that I now have something I can point them to get a little bit more of a detailed perspective on what fundraising looks like and really what it means for Accelsius. So Diego, thanks so much for being here today. He deserves a big round of applause from the audience. So thanks again, Diego, and I'll let you get back to it.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thanks again for joining today. I hope that was a valuable conversation to help understand the Series B funding that we just raised and what that means for Accelsius in 2026 as we scale towards gigawatt scale two-phase direct-to-chip liquid cooling deployments. Certainly, we have a busy year ahead for Accelsius. And with that being said, we are entering our spring trade show season. So in March, we'll be at Data Center World London, as well as NVIDIA GTC in San Jose. So please get in touch if you're going to be there and you want to chat with us or see some of our products on the show floor. We'd love to get connected. So thanks again for tuning in, and everyone take care.